makes a video about how we don't want to identify ourselves and then makes a video about their coming out experience. Don't worry, we're very self-aware on this channel. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of MikeMGTV, and this is another heart to heart. So put your condoms on now because we about to get into it. Because it is officially almost 1 year to the date that I accidentally came out to my parents. And it's funny now, thank God, at least for me. And also a little interesting, and I thought I would come on here and give y'all some insight. Because I know there's probably a lot of people out there struggling on whether or not to come out to their parents, whether or not they think they should. And for me, it was always a confusing topic as a bisexual, which if I have to identify in real life, that's what I do. I chose not to identify online because I don't want to be put in a box for my content. But in real life, if I am forced to identify, I just tell people I'm bisexual. And that was always confusing because I always thought, well, who knows? If I don't end up with a guy, then maybe I never have to come out to my parents. Maybe I don't have to come out to anybody. I always thought I would only have to come out to my parents if I ended up dating a guy. And I was very conflicted on whether or not I should even have this conversation with my parents. But I remember I was having coffee with a friend, and they told me, you know, we're all not guaranteed tomorrow. How would you feel if something happened to your mom or your dad and they died without ever actually knowing who their son was? And that resonated with me a lot. And I think at that point I was pretty much decided that I had to have the conversation with them. I didn't really know when I was going to do it or how I was going to do it. I just know that I wanted to do it. So, not long after, I had a long night out because at the time I was going through a lot of bullshit, and I was drinking a lot and I was partying a lot, and there was this one really long night that unfortunately made me go through a come down in the morning. And when you have a come down, basically you're like super depressed and your anxiety is through the roof. At least it is for me, because we all know I'm literally a walking ball of anxiety. So usually when I am having these panic attacks or these come downs, I call a specific friend. I have these like friends that I go to specifically because they know how to like talk me off the edge. They know exactly what to say to me. Unfortunately, they were all asleep, so I had no one to call. So in a panic, I called my mom, which if you're ever having a panic attack on the other side of the country, especially a come down, maybe don't call your mom. That might not be the best idea. So regardless, I called my mom. And I was freaking out, which freaked her out, and she got super worried and was like, is there anything I could do? Are you okay? And then my mom starts crying, and then now I'm feeling worse because I'm making my mom cry, and I feel bad about it, and I don't really know how to explain to her why I'm crying and why I'm feeling this way, because I can't tell her everything I was doing all night, blah, blah, blah. So she was like, what's wrong? What's the matter, Mike? You know, how can I help you? And I told her, I don't know. You know, I was just having a really great night and everything was going so good, and I think I ruined everything, and I think I like this person blank. And I said their name and it was boy's name, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. I just had word vomit. So my mom pauses and interrupts me and goes, excuse me? Who do you think you love? And I paused and realized what I did, and I said, what? And she goes, what? And then there's another pause, and she goes, Mike, I'm here with your father. You're on speakerphone. And I said, what? And she goes, what? So I just realized, oh no, what the fuck did I just do? That's not how I wanted to do that, and it definitely was not planned, and definitely wasn't as clean and proper as I really was hoping it to be. I didn't want to come out to my parents having a come down on the other side of the country. But I did. I accidentally just fessed up by admitting that I had feelings for another guy on the phone to my mom during word vomit, coming down from a long night of partying while my dad was on the other line and I had no idea. Oh my God. So I literally hung up the phone, threw it against the windshield of my car, because I have my panic attacks in my car, and just screamed, "Fuck!" as loud as I could. I just threw my phone against the windshield and screamed, because now what the fuck do I do? I just came out to my parents a mistake. So I was already freaking out and already panicking. Bitch, I don't know how I didn't drive the car off Mulholland Drive. I was freaking out. And I don't want anybody to think I was drinking and driving. I was in my parked car in the garage, because that's where I like to freak out. I don't know why, it's just where I like to freak out. But yeah, I was going nuts at this point, because not only was I already having a hard time, I just accidentally came out to my parents. Oh my God. So, it was like a day or two before we talked. You know, my mom was great. She told me the thing that everybody always is annoyed to hear, which is, she already knew. Yeah, okay. And then my dad was very careful about what he said, because my dad is a very conservative, right individual. He's great. He's a great person. But we think very differently. And he was very careful with what he said next, because, you know, growing up, there was always rumors from other parents or whatever that, oh, that kid Mike is going to grow up to be gay and blah, blah, blah. My dad always defended me and everything. And that was another big reason why I didn't want to come out to them, because I felt like I was letting them down and I didn't want to disappoint them. And so I was very afraid of how my dad was going to react. And he even said he was very careful and thought about what he was going to say next to me, because he knew whatever he said to me next was going to affect us a lot. And what he said was that he may not understand it. He doesn't really know how he feels about it yet, but he wasn't going to lose his son over it. And at the time, that was amazing to hear, because I was really afraid that it was going to ruin our relationship, because really all me and my dad do is talk about work and who I was dating. And he doesn't understand the YouTube thing. He's greatly disappointed in my choice of career. He would much rather me have stayed in New York and in business, and he does not understand why I left that to come out to California to make these dumb videos online that are embarrassing to him. So he doesn't understand my work anymore, and now he didn't know how to talk to me about who I was dating, so he didn't really know how to talk to me. We didn't really know how to talk to each other. So that was difficult. That's a hurdle. You know, that's always just what we've talked about. So now, how are me and my father going to have a relationship if we don't really know what to talk about with each other? Which was frustrating. And still is. I mean, whenever we talk, it's like, how are you doing? What are you doing work-wise? It's still, you know, try to go back to that, and him not understanding what I'm doing for work or who I'm dating. And then it's a lot of back and forth. And that's kind of consistently how it's been the entire year. We don't really talk about it if we don't have to, which is weird to me, because of course I want to talk about it, but whenever we do, it's kind of like confusing, because I don't know how to talk about it to my parents. I know my mom loves me. That was never a question. And I know she's always going to be there for me, because I'm a mama's boy. I don't really know how she feels towards the fact that I'm bisexual. I know she has no problem with gay people. I know she doesn't have a problem with that scene, but I mean, I know my mom is also not afraid to tell me, oh, you can't have that sweatshirt, it's pink and boys don't wear pink. You know, my mom is also somebody who's not caught up on the times there just yet. And I've tried to make her watch an episode of Drag Race, and she was not having it, because she thought that just because I was making her watch an episode of Drag Queens was me hinting to the fact that I was a drag queen, which is not the case. Mom, you can calm down. So I'm slowly trying to learn where she stands with that. The only thing that did hurt a little bit was my dad did tell me that she cries sometimes because now she thinks she's never going to have grandkids. Because I think my sister wants to adopt, and now with me being bisexual, she thinks that if I end up with a guy that I'm never going to be able to give her grandkids. Which is not the case. There is a lot of ways that homosexual couples can have kids, and I definitely plan on having kids. And I don't want to adopt. I want to have at least 2 or 3 kids of my own. And there are ways to do that, and I still plan on doing that, and I hope she knows that someday. And my dad has recently just started to try and ask me to, open up to him and tell him about dating and stuff like that. And I don't really know how to, because, like I said, I don't know how to communicate with him because I know he doesn't understand. And I think that's what frustrates me. And I think that's why a lot of kids that are LGBT get frustrated with their parents, because their parents don't understand them. And I think we associate understanding with love. And those are 2 very different things. Because our parents aren't going to fully understand us because they can't understand us. My parents never had to grow up being afraid of who they were. My parents never had to grow up being ashamed of who they were. My parents never had to worry about whether or not they were ever going to find love, or if the love they found was okay or healthy. They never had to worry about, being labeled that they were going to catch a deadly disease and die because of the person that they loved. They never had to worry about whether or not they were going to be able to have kids when they were older. They never had to worry about whether or not they could kiss the person they were dating in public if it was accepted or okay. They never had to worry about these things. So they will never fully understand. And I think growing up, that was really frustrating for me, because there are so many questions I had, and the advice I was getting only helped me so far, but there was so many other things that I had to go out and find out on my own, and it put me through a lot of hardship. And there were so many times I wish I could have just gone to my mom, or I could have just gone to my dad, but I couldn't, A, because I couldn't tell them because that would involve me coming out, and B, because I knew they wouldn't have the answer. How do I go to my dad for advice on dating boys? He wouldn't know, and he wouldn't want to give me advice on that. Especially because I'm bisexual, I think they also have like a clinging to the idea that I end up with a girl. So it's a little confusing. But I think we all have to understand that just because our parents don't understand us does not mean that they don't love us. I know my parents love me, and I am very lucky to have the parents that I do, because there are people out there who have it much worse than I do. There are people out there whose parents kick them out. There are people out there who lose their parents over this. And it's a year later, and my parents still haven't fully understood, but I know that they do love me. And I hope in time they learn to love this part of me too. Because I know I recently went home for Pride in New York, and my dad was like, "Oh, would you really want me there?" And the truth is, no, I wouldn't want him there. Because I know he wouldn't want to be there. And I know I can't make him or my mom or anyone in my family want to be there. But it would be nice. It would be nice, because Pride isn't just for gay people. Pride is for everybody. It's a celebration that shows that we're all in this together and that we all support each other. So like maybe even a text that said Happy Pride would have been nice the first year I came out. I don't know, that support would have been nice, but it's not needed. I just hope that we get there. And this is only the first year. And at least now I know that it's all out in the open, and it'll only get better from here. Soon, maybe the rest of my family will know if they don't already. I don't know how they don't know, but like I said, we don't talk about it. I know my grandparents don't know. I don't know why my parents haven't told them. So, yeah, that's where we are 1 year after coming out. We will see where we are down the road. And I will be sure to let you guys know as time goes by. But thank you for letting me come on here and talk. I hope maybe this gave some insight to anybody out there conflicted with the idea of coming out to their parents. If you are in a safe environment, then I recommend it. But you know your situation best. If it's safer for you not to say anything for now, do what you have to do. You're all smart. You all know how to live your own lives. But luckily, we live in a much more accepting time right now. It's much easier now growing up LGBT than it was for me, let alone for somebody my parents' age. So I wish you all the best. And if anything else, I'm here for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for future ones. I'm MikeMGTV, and you're fucking welcome.
Swallow my kids, stay there. Head so good it's like daycare. Damn right, heights, gray there. I got a weed pipe, got a head full of gray hair. Never cheat when the game don't play fair. Bear with me, take those pants up and lay there. She rides my dick like the state fair. I was too fucked up to take off my Wayfares.